Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, depending on what time you're watching this. It is April 10th, 2023, Monday. It is 4:26 in the morning. Okay, this is part 7, Nicholas Sparks, True Believer. There hadn't been enough time to organize a private room for the get-together, but no one seemed to mind. With its long granite bar and dramatic lighting, the packed facility was Yuppieville. While the journalists from Scientific American tended to wear tweed sport jackets with pocket protectors and were crowded into one corner of the room discussing photons, most of the other patrons looked as if they'd dropped by after finishing up at work on Wall Street or Madison Avenue. Italian suit jackets slung over the back of chairs, Hermes ties loosened, men who seemed to want to do nothing more than to scope out the women in attendance while flashing their Rolexes. Women straight from work and publishing and advertising were dressed in designer skirts and impossibly high heels, sipping flavored martinis while pretending to ignore the men. Jeremy himself had his eye on a tall redhead standing at the other end of the bar, who appeared to be glancing his way. He wondered if she recognized him from the television ads, or whether she just wanted some company. She turned away, apparently uninterested, but then looked his way again. With her gaze lingering just a little longer this time, Jeremy raised his glass. "Come on, Jeremy, pay attention," Nate said, nudging him with his elbow. "You're on TV. Don't you want to see how you did?" Jeremy turned from the redhead. Glancing up at the screen, he saw himself sitting opposite Diane Sawyer. Strange, he thought, like being in two places at once. It still didn't seem quite real. Nothing in the past 3 weeks had seemed real, despite his years in media. On screen, Diane was describing him as America's most esteemed scientific journalist. Not only had the story turned out to be everything he'd wanted, but Nate was even talking to Primetime Live about Jeremy doing regular stories for them with the possibility of additional features on Good Morning America. Though many journalists believed television was less important than others, more serious forms of reporting, it didn't stop most of them from secretly viewing television as the holy grail, by which they meant big money. Despite the congratulations, envy was in the air, sensation as foreign to Jeremy as space travel. After all, journalists of his stripe weren't exactly at the top of the media pecking order until today. "Didn't she just call you esteemed?" Alvin asked. "You write about Bigfoot and the legend of Atlantis?" "Shh," Nate said, his eyes glued to the television. "I'm trying to hear this. It could be important for Jeremy's career." As Jeremy's agent, Nate was forever promoting events that could be important for Jeremy's career, for the simple reason that freelancing wasn't all that lucrative. Years earlier, when Nate was starting out, Jeremy had pitched a book proposal, and they'd been working together ever since, simply because they'd become friends. "Whatever," Alvin said, dismissing the scolding. Meanwhile, flickering on the screen behind Diane Sawyer and Jeremy were the final moments of Jeremy's performance on the daytime television show, in which Jeremy had pretended to be a man grieving the boyhood death of his brother, a boy Clausen claimed to be channeling for Jeremy's benefit. "He's with me," Clausen could be heard announcing. "He wants you to let him go, Thad." The picture shifted to capture Jeremy's rendition of an anguished guest. He faced contorted. Clausen nodded in the background, either oozing sympathy or looking constipated, depending on the perspective. Okay, so that's part 7 of chapter 1, Nicholas Sparks, True Believer. Thank you for watching.